Detective Nelson reports that throughout the course of the 2 day search, a total of 89 pieces of evidence were recovered from the property. And among the items recovered are the following: Mossberg silver and black colored shotgun and three remaining shotgun shells,
I can't believe this.
brown colored leather steel toed boots, black colored jacket,
So
black
I'm
colored
listening
mask,
to
stolen
True
license
Crime
plate,
and Gossip on YouTube. You can
gold dark
find them. It's
colored
Oni.
two-handled trunk safety release
They are
knife.
reading the
The statements
documents
made by law enforcement
from the
officers
Jayme
were
Closs
truthful,
criminal
credible, and
complaint docs
reliable
released.
because of the
It's
positions of the
basically
prosecutors ruled. Statements of
a
independent
confession
witness
and a detailed
witnesses
story
should be considered
recollection
truthful,
from the.
credible, and reliable because they are made by citizen witnesses. Statements of the defendants can be considered truthful, credible, and reliable to the extent to which they are admissions against interest. Subscribed, sworn, and before me on 1/14th of 2019, electronically signed by Brian H. Wright, District Attorney, State Bar number
So they're reading the
1021330,
criminal complaint
Detective
documents,
Jeffrey
and it's
Nelson,
basically a confession. And
statement.
they're
Was
live right
was
now.
that ever
They're
Way,
but
way worse.
I didn't see anything about sexual assault.
I did not either.
Just kind of a gasp of relief.
Yes.
Right, guys?
I
so
it,
so this is a detailed story of what happened to Jayme Kloss from the guy who committed the crime. And it's a crazy story. It's a crazy it's this
that there was no. Maybe it'll come out later, but there's no admission.
this is his story, right? Now Jayme will tell a story too, and she'll tell it from a different perspective. She'll tell it from being shoved under the bed.
I wish there was the death penalty. I really do.
Kidnapping, first degree intentional homicide, first degree intentional homicide. This kid tells the story of the shotgun he bought, how he wiped the bullets.
Um, very, very much so.
They could barely read it. I couldn't have read it at all. I was having to distract myself with other things just to like listen to it. Um,
The steps.
I mean, he goes step by step on how he did it, on what he. And mad shout out to True Crime and Gossip for literally reading through this entire set of documents, the criminal complaint. That's not easy to do, and
That motherfucker pushing and pushing and pushing.
Um,
I don't know. I think I would have called 911.
I was only catching some of the chat, you guys, and I know you guys are feeling the same way we are.
Yeah.
it's craziness. It was hard to get through. You're welcome, Victoria. Thanks for watching. It's been I can't get sucked into this case, and I don't really need to because it's done. The guy has come out. He's made this entire confession. She's free. The one thing that wasn't mentioned in the confession is any sort of um, sexual anything. No, he doesn't admit. He admits to everything. He admits to murder. He admits to everything. He doesn't admit to anything sexual. So it will be determined via. And he hasn't been charged with anything. He's been charged with kidnapping and with murder. Um, so, not all sick fucks are sick sexual fucks. Even they can just be this it couldn't just. He said if he would have planned this out, he would have never been caught because he did this on a whim. He like went, come back, went, came back, said, "Okay, let's do it." Oh no, it'll make an extraordinary. This will make. It's a crazy story. It's like almost. It's not even like. It's not even like a pretend story. It's played out right in front of us. These guys, Oni and Dish for Lish, the true crime and gossip people, they are totally slamming this, and they've not slamming it in a good way, like really covering it. They've been covering it. They brought it to. I did a guest appearance on this true crime and gossip, and they just talked me through a little bit of it. And like I was asking, like I asked some hard questions because I was ignorant to the case about like, do they think this 13-year-old's involved? What's going on? Like she went missing, and people still searching, and all of a sudden, 3 days later. 3 days later. That's some powerful stuff. And I'm not saying that these guys are the reason for any of this, that Jayme got away, escaped for whatever reason. But 3 days later, I talked. I mean, I had just learned about that case. I had seen something on social media, but so many people, like if you consumed yourself with every individual case, I mean, it would drive me insane. In reading the documents, oh my gosh. I almost had to listen to it like it was an audio book. I had to shut off that this was reality. I had to shut off what I was reading was the confession of the guy who did this. That would have been the only way I would have made it through those documents.
And he went towards Baron. We always thought he turned right. He didn't. Yeah, he turned left.
Yeah, there's like days where you just set up the whole entire day with your maps.
I can't. And the fact that he hit her when she tried, she didn't even know why he hit her, but it's because like she accidentally moved a toe. It wasn't even an escape plan. Right. But I don't know. I just really think
Oh my
it's a
goodness.
testament to him,
No joke.
right?
You're back. What's up? Yeah, I'm talking about this Jayme Kloss case. Actually, I've been listening to freaking true crime and gossip. I'm a secret underground Oni fan. Oh yes. This dude introduced me to this case, and 3 days after we talk about this Jayme Kloss case, I literally asked these people who are reading these letters.
Now we see it right here, firsthand.
And now they're reading the documents from this case, and it blows my mind. I can't imagine this young lady's.
You know what I mean? Like,
Kept under a bed.
And Jayme heard the dog barking and seen the car come in the driveway and went and got her dad. You know,
You never know who's around you. You never really know who your neighbors are.
This guy was relentless. Like he was going to execute this plan no matter what.
oh yeah, he was gonna do this no matter what. He was gonna miss it. Fucking asshole. And
Phony is funny. They read the documents from the criminal complaint, basically the admission of this guy telling the story of how he kept this woman captive, this young lady captive, after he gunned down her parents. He said he didn't even know who she was, but he had planned this out. And It's not an easy listen. There is nothing easy about listening to it. But for me, it was like I had to turn the switch on and just listen. But it makes you think, like, the crazies. Like, people talk about crazies. They're like, Michael, you better be careful. Michael, don't tell. I mean, I have gotten hundreds of messages about people, but they're not going to come after me. That's the last thing they would do. They're going to go after the one that no one suspects, the one that's they're not going to go after some high profile. Not that I'm some high profile thing, but it still makes me think. It still makes me think every time my daughter leaves my house, every time my son leaves, every time, you think about these weird, crazy things. But you can't live in the fear. We live in a big world. They will try to drive, and that's some people think that this is like fear mongering. Like when you talk about cases like this stuff, you're like fear mongering. No, you're talking about real, true life. Like real, true life. Again, this Jamie Kloss is not a. This isn't a Netflix special. This isn't some conspiracy. This isn't some, you know. This is a girl that went missing as her parents got killed. She was held captive. This is like real life. Oh, I'm sure there was a plea bargain for the confession. And that's what people have to understand. They could have, he could have, he's getting first. I don't know. He's not really. Um, I hope he doesn't get a plea bargain. Can you imagine admitting what you did, confessing it out, and then them giving you some sort of deal? It's ridiculous. He planned it for weeks. Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty, so he's not going to see the death penalty, even though he killed 2 people and kidnapped and kept a girl captive under a bed. It is the stuff that movies are supposed to be made of, and real life is supposed to be too horrific for real life. This is what movies were supposed to be made, not real life. These stories of planned out, manipulated murders, despite this, that's like the truest of evils to commit. It's like that's where like I have to go like into the other life when I start thinking about the horrific things that take place on this planet. You have to move out of the realm of justice in this life, and you pray that there is justice in the age to come, like the life to come. Whether you believe in it or not, you ultimately, everybody hopes that the torment and the evil in this world is somehow vindicated and justified in the judgment in the age to come. This is how we tell ourselves there's ultimately a good and an evil, and there's ultimately a good and an evil in the world to come. I mean, the best way to say it is, after cases like this, you hope there is a hell for places like that guy. And death would be May not. Oh, that's pretty revolutionary right there when you think about it. So this man has to live the rest of his life because Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty. Not even that. We have to protect his ass. Not we. When I say we, I don't mean me. I mean Wisconsin. Wisconsin has to protect to make sure that this guy lives the rest of his life. The difference is this prison justice has nothing to do with this life or the next. The fact that this guy will probably be in segregation, he will literally be in segregated cells most of his incarceration, only to keep him safe. You're talking about a chomo here. You're talking about a child kidnapper. You're talking about it's a different kind now. He better hope that Jayme tells the same story he tells. He better hope for his prison stay that Jayme tells out loud that he did not sexually assault me. Because if he has told his side of the story and Jayme says, no, he did sexually assault me, his prison sentence was greatly reduced. Greatly reduced. When you become a chomo, you're gone in prison. It's done. It's over with. So, if he's lying, if what they read today, this criminal complaint, doesn't have the whole truth, God rest this man's soul. But Wisconsin will not be the one to take his life. The state of Wisconsin will not be the one to take his life. That doesn't mean he's not going to die in prison. It also means he may have a long time to think about what he's done. And a man hell on earth begins to bring a man to a revelation that if he has to stand judgment twice, you will stand judgment on this earth and in the life to come. We'll see. We shall see. See, because if you wish judgment on a man like this, the man who committed, I don't even know his name, not even going to give him the damn time of day, but a man who commits such a heinous crime on this planet, you would hope you'd have to suffer twice. But then we have to serve our own judgments twice, wouldn't we? And I don't wish that on myself. I don't want to wish that. I don't want to serve the judgments of this world in the age to come. I hope there's a loophole somewhere. I mean, I'm not going to be that bad off. I've said a lot of things about myself today on a lot of live videos that it's been really self-reflective. Like, I've said a lot of things about myself. You know, I'm a better liar than I am an honest man, but I try to be honest, right? I definitely have a heart to give, so hopefully that affords me in the life to come. Oh, we talked about thieving. I know a lot of people that have begged, borrowed, and steal to feed their children. So I'll be in the short list there, right? Theft under certain amounts. The guys I don't want to be in line with are the bankers, right? I don't want to be in line with the bankers, the insurance brokers, the real thieves of the communities, the guys who suck the earth dry. Imagine having to explain to the creator of the world why you suck the earth dry. Like, yeah, I took a couple of bucks here and there to feed the children. But there are things that you do in this life that you hope you never have to suffer for. I once committed a crime in Texas that at one point in history would have got you hung. I want to explain myself because this is going to be some ammo that everyone can go take a look. You can find the history. I'm not sure I know the dates. Have you ever committed a crime that would have got you hung? That's the question. So I want to answer that. I'm going to tell a story on the Underground channel. These are true life stories. Like, they're going to be embellished. They're going to be at the best of my memory. They're going to be at the best of an honest man who's a better liar than he is an honest man storyteller. I'm a better honest storyteller than I am a liar, for sure. My memory doesn't fit me that way. But I have a story to tell about a crime that I committed that would have got you hung in Texas. Now that's a damn story right there. Yeah, I tell people all the time, had there ever been social media, had they had given this kid, true ass, had they had given this kid a phone that he had his own show, I would be one of two things. I would be deep in the darkest prisons this earth has, or I'd be famous. But I'm going to tell you a story that's a beautiful story right there. I got to tell that story one time. She made me, I think I've told my wife this story. I'm sure I've told my wife this story.
What?
About the horses.
Going hiking with the doggies for a bit.
No, where y'all going? In the snow? Or you're just taking the dogs?
Don't want to go, so I'm just
Oh.
taking the dogs.
My wife is escaping to the woods. She's going
Like a
hiking.
Smart woman.
Where are you going to go, though?
They're playing school.
Well, tell me where you're going to go at least.
I was thinking of going
Don't
to.
just say it code words.
I know.
Say code words.
Over. It's not a place I've gone before. It's just across the street from the water store.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, that's a
Open
sweet
space.
spot. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
sweet
I think I
spot.
can take
That's a
both
sunny
dogs.
side.
Yep,
And that's the sunny side, too.
And both dogs.
That's the
run it.
sunny side. You'll be good there.
Yep.
No, that's a good spot over there. And then, like, you know where you could go is if you go down by. You should just text what's her name and see if you can go hike around her place. That's what you should do. If you were smart, that's what you would do. If you were smart, you would text the people you know and go hike around their place, or go right by that place. If you go right by their place at the end of the road there, there's a trail that goes into the woods that connects
You guys
to.
gonna have a ton of snow?
No, but yeah, you should go over behind where you're talking about.
I know. I thought that was. I kept trying
It's
to
the
wrap my
sunny
brain. I was
side.
Like, I think that's a good spot for sun. I could go out to Divide to that women's trail, but that's like.
I don't know if divides women's trail. Anyway,
I got these puppy dogs.
you're gonna take the dogs.
Yep.
You're gonna take the Jeep, or the other one. Yours. You can take yours.
Yep. Come on, dog.
That way you don't get harassed. If she takes mine, she'll get harassed. What story was I going to tell y'all? The story that could have got me hung in Texas. The story that could have got me hung in Texas. It's a dramatic story, so I'm going to make it short. So there was a time when I spent more time on the back of a horse than I did walking. I actually led horseback rides all over Texas. I worked at some of the most almost infamous horse ranches, racehorse ranches, dude ranches. I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but just north of there is just, it used to be horse farms and horse ranches. The great Ross Perot took most of those horse ranches and horse farms and turned them into housing developments. But nevertheless, I spent more time on a horse than I did walking. And I used to do horseback trail rides around this lake called Grapevine Lake. It's got a great trail system. It's beautiful trails. And me and my buddy would we worked this ranch that was adjacent to the horse trails. And this ranch was a particularly interesting ranch because when me and my buddy first went to work there, we were just kind of like little laborers, you know. We just freaking shoveled horse shit, fed the horses, did stuff around the place, make some money, right? But we soon to realize that this particular lady who owned this horse ranch, she knew very little about animals, and she was more of a hoarder of types. Like she hoarded animals. Anybody ever met someone like this? Now her property, we did a lot of work, cleaned it up, and it wasn't the like the rundownest place. And we fixed the round pen. We had and it was great for us because she had hundreds of horses, hundreds of horses, and it was cool for us because we could do horseback trail riding right out of there, kind of a black book operation. That wouldn't have got you hung. By the way, that's not the crime that I was thinking that would have got me hung, but I just realized I admitted that I'm admitting now that we were running this little black book horse guide operation off her property because it was adjacent to Grapevine Lake, as well as it had as well as she had like 100 head of horses. And this would have been right but in the South Lake, Grapevine area right there. It's right off of, I think it's 114 if my memory, I mean, it's kind of back in there towards the lake. But Grapevine Lake was a huge lake. And me and my buddy are running, we're taking care of crap on her ranch, but on the side there, we're running, and she didn't give a crap. First of all, she didn't care. This is not any, I'm not breaking any rules here, but this kind of sets up for where I'm headed with this. We were running this little black book horse trail operation where we would just, if somebody pays $25, we were going to take them for a horseback ride. We didn't have no insurance. We were just some kids. I was barely a kid. I was barely a freaking adolescent, And, but this lady had hundreds of horses. Well, throughout the time we were there, we would take horses to sales for her all the time. So like she would say, hey, go sell it, see if you can sell any of those colts, or see if you can do this, or see if you can do that. And this lady started going, her finances started going down. I don't know where she got her money from, but it started dropping quickly. So then it turned into she wasn't going to pay us, but she would allow us to run horses off her property so we could still do the black book deal and we still had access to some animals. But then we started hearing rumors that she wasn't feeding the horses. Like first the help was gone and then she wasn't feeding the horses. And this is where I commit a crime that could be looked at in two ways. When you rustle horses or cows in Texas, they will hang you. Do you understand? So I'm hoping there's a statute of limitations on this because I don't think I've ever openly committed this in public. But we rustled some horses off that property when we got tipped that property was going to be busted by the health and welfare animal operation. Because we knew that the animal operation was going to sell off all those animals and get rid of the animals. But I had spent probably the last maybe a year and a half, 2 years, like training some of these horses. I'm not going to admit to how many horses we took off the property. Needless to say, no one ever suspected anything. She had over 100+ head of horses on a very small little ranch. It was a news story that went viral, and me and my buddy just barely missed it. Like we missed it on the good end. In other words, she couldn't pay us. And this is all verified. Like my mom knows this story, and this story I haven't talked about in a long time and told. But I thought I would tell you a little secret about me. Had I had a camera when I was 16 years old, I may have taken y'all on a real life Texas horse rustle. But I want you to know that we saved those horses both from someone who was neglecting them, and we saved them from the health and wellness department that was going to confiscate them. And those horses may have ended up at the glue factory had we not saved those horses. But I still committed a crime And I couldn't, but you guys can Google a lady in Grapevine, Texas. It would have probably been, I don't know. And I'm sure it was on the Fort Worth Star Telegram. And my mom was like, Michael, you used to work for that lady. And I was like, yep. I told you that was gonna happen. I would have helped you. I know a lot of people would have, but I'm not trying to gloat on criminal activity in my past. But I'm not afraid to talk about my past at all. Like I said, had I had a cell phone when I was a kid, had I been a kid with a cell phone, I'd have been in jail or in prison. Or I would have been famous, right? The guy who rustled the horses to save them, and then it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, this lady got busted by the animal welfare people, and they shut her complete ranch down. And I never tipped anybody off. And I openly didn't watch animals get neglected. When I was there, we fed those animals every day. We used the animals. So we were using the animals to make cash. You can't take a horse around Grapevine Lake unless you're feeding the horse, I promise you. And I've worked at some of the best horse ranches that the country's ever had. I've worked for the Canadian national champion. I've worked for the U.S. national champion. I've worked at a paint horse ranch that had the best paint horses in Texas. And so I've worked with some of again, this was a lifetime ago. But I once committed a crime in Texas that would have got you hung had it been 100 years earlier. If you rustle cows, horses in Texas, it may still be on the books this very day. So it's a story from the dad with a phone. That's to the best recollection. I would not testify in court at all, and no one's going to testify against me, even if you could go dig up the truth. But you can go dig up the truth on that story, because you'll find the lady who got busted, and by God, this dad with the phone used to work there.